blending your screen printing ink is a great way to add a creative touch to your prints. But if you don't use the right color combinations, it may not turn out as colorful as you had hoped. Hi, I'm Jennifer with Pigskins and Pigtails. If you follow me on social media, you know I am obsessed with screen printing. And in this video, I'm going to share just one more reason why I love this process so much. And that's that you can get really creative with your ink colors. But before you try a project like this, I have two key ingredients that I'm going to share that will make a big difference in how your project looks. And be sure to stick around to the end to see a bunch of projects I've done over the years using different techniques that will give you some ideas on what you can try out yourself. But first, if you're new here and you haven't seen my process of screen printing using designs I cut on my vinyl cutter, you can watch this video for step-by-step instructions. Once you've gotten the hang of setting up your screen, it's time to get creative with our ink colors. Yes, you can screen print multicolor designs like this by putting each color on a different screen and then lining up the layers. But in this video, it's all about combining colors on one screen to make different effects that you can get from gradients to ombre, to just a really creative mix of color. I'm using Speedball fabric inks. These are easy to find at your local craft store, or I've linked to them below. One trick I like to use when I'm blending different ink colors on my screen is to apply the ink with a syringe. This gives you a little more control over exactly where your colors go. Most blends like this one start along the top of the design, and then I like to wiggle my squeegee a little bit as I start to mix those overlapping inks as I pull the squeegee over the screen. When you get to the bottom, you should still have some ink left on your squeegee, so lift that up and put it back at the top of the design. If you want the colors to blend a little more, you can move the squeegee to the right or left a little bit each time so that the ink overlaps. Now lift your screen and check out your blended design. You can print more shirts with this same screen, just place it directly on your next shirt and repeat the process. You can add more ink if you need it, and squeegee over the design. Each time you print, the inks are going to blend together a little more. So now that you can see how creative you can get with this, let's get to the two key ingredients to getting the best results when you're blending inks. One is the design that you pick, and the other is the color combination you choose. If you pick a design like this that's mainly text and you choose blue, yellow, and red inks, I think that the mix of dark and light colors makes the design hard to read. If you want to get really colorful, you could choose a shape or more basic graphic like this pineapple. And even if you go wild with lots of colors, you can still tell that it's a pineapple, and it's okay if it looks a little more abstract. So put a little thought into the design you pick and whether it will work well with a blend of ink colors. This leads to my second key point, and that's the color combinations you use make a big difference. In theory, using primary colors together or colors that appear next to each other on the color wheel will give you good results. However, if you have my ink recipe guides, you know that not all Speedball ink colors mix as you would expect. You may try red and blue thinking the middle will blend to a nice purple, only to find out that it doesn't make a very pretty purple. While complementary colors look good next to each other, when these colors blend together, they usually end up making a brown color. You really have to experiment here to see what colors you like to use together. If you don't want to waste ink or shirts trying out different combinations, I have done the testing for you and put together my favorite combinations in my gradient guide that is available in my shop, and I'll link to it below. This guide is a good reference you can use when you're picking out your colors so you know which ones will look best blended together. Now let's get into some of the techniques you can use to get different results. Probably my most favorite blend to do is a sunset or fire blend. On this design, I want to squeegee sideways so I can get a horizontal blend. And as you print the same design over and over, you'll notice that the first print has less blending. Then by the time we get to the sixth print, you'll have a really smooth blend happening. Now let's go a little crazy and put colors all over the screen. With the syringe, I can add dots of ink all over. Instead of just lining the ink along the edge of the design, I'm putting it on top of the design too. So rather than a straight blend of colors, this creates patches of colors all over. Something to keep in mind if you use this technique is that it usually looks best with just one swipe of the squeegee. I even did this one to look like a camo print. But keep in mind, if you go over and over it again, you will lose the patches of colors as it all starts to blend together. So this isn't the most efficient technique if you're doing lots of shirts, because you'll need to keep adding new ink and clearing your squeegee each time. Another technique you can try is using a palette knife to spread and blend your inks together on the screen. Then when you squeegee over, you're just pressing that ink into the shirt. With this technique, you can get bigger patches of colors that go in different directions. You may have noticed in some of these projects I've shared that I'm using a screen printing press, and sometimes I'm just putting the screen directly on the shirt. A screen printing press like this is beneficial to have if you're planning to do more than one shirt. It makes lining up the design on the shirt much easier. Plus, if you miss a spot after you lift the screen, the press will lower the screen back down in the same spot so you can add more ink. Let me show you something really neat to try if you have a screen printing press. Start out by doing your blend of colors, then come back with the second screen and add an outline. This really pulls the design together. To line up an outline or solid colors in addition to your blend, a multicolor screen printing press like this one really becomes essential. I was able to print the red, blue, and then gradient on 60 shirts by swapping out the screens. These quick release clamps make sure the design stays lined up as I swap my screens in and out. Using a press is especially helpful when you're printing on dark color fabrics. You can lift and lower the screen, checking your ink coverage until you get it just right. After blending the inks for this disco ball, I added my wording using a solid color, which makes it stand out and easier to read. Another one to try is an ombre effect. For this one, I mixed a pink color and then I divided it into 3 bowls. I added a good bit of white to the first bowl to make the lightest pink, and then just a little bit of white to the second bowl to make a medium pink, then use the dark pink along the bottom. When you squeegee this, you get a nice gradual blend. There's so many ways to get creative with screen printing inks, like this beach blend, or making a colorful string of light bulbs. Now that we've screen printed our colorful prints, you don't want this ink to fade when you wash the shirt. To keep that from happening, watch this next video where I explain how to properly heat set speedball fabric ink. Or if you want to learn how to line up multicolored designs without blending the ink colors, you can do that by using separate screens for each color. I explain that process in this video.